it? Well, I get to be the fun medium between these two people here, trying to get the laws applied and then be able to balance functionality. And that's not what we're seeing in the industry so far. I mean, technology has come up a long way. We're leveraging new technologies to do medical care better, and essentially is the mission of every hospital. And as security practitioners or future security practitioners, that's one thing that we have to keep in mind. That's your base mission. And it becomes a real hard thing to sell because security impedes productivity. And I can showcase that by an example. Imagine yourself as director of pharmacy, right? You come into work and you start seeing in your virus protection software popping up all kinds of notifications because something bad happened on the network. Now, your hospital seems to have an awesome security team, and they've taken their due diligence and steps to have controls that block everything and start scanning everything. So the infection is contained, so to speak. The byproduct of that containment is the fact that now your pharmacy system is down. You can't administer meds. Your systems are scanning in the middle of a day, at the worst during shift change, when most of the activity occurs. You're really impeding the availability of information for clinicians, and that's a very real scenario. So, and then throw into that piece all the fun techie gizmos that your hospital has. It's always mixed in with old, archaic, in some cases crappy equipment. I mean, you have all the way from fancy radiology machines to old lab equipment that still runs serial interfaces with no protection at all. And they have to run it because that's the only thing FDA allows you to run. So how do you balance controls in that way? Secondly, whenever something like this occurs where it impedes the availability of information, hospitals go to downtime procedures. And they need to do that because so as not to impact patient care. Well, the first thing that gets thrown out of the downtime procedure are your security controls. Because everything becomes paper, and they go back to the old school ways of doing things by sharing information by mouth or by writing it down. And in the end, the patients get treated, and that's what they're there for. But how do we balance that through procedures, through policies? That's a key question that myself and other of my colleagues in the field need to work with every single day. Secondly, there's a cost. Hospitals, from a clinical standpoint and then from a business standpoint, need to make money. And there's a very fine balance between the mission and then the bottom line, because you got to pay your doctors, you got to pay your nurses, everybody has a family. And that money and bottom line comes through innovations that medical centers make through technology, through practices, through research, and all those innovations come at a risk. Come at a risk because we're venturing into territory where no one has gone before for the Star Trek buffs in here. And it can create issues and risks. A lot of times those issues and risks need to be discussed and appropriately handled by the management of the company. And then at what point does cybersecurity become marketing versus IT? IT is fairly simple to do. The controls are fairly easy to maintain, to implement, and they do what you tell them to do. How do you change the people aspect of it? That's the hardest part of what I have to do every single day.